Okay, hi community. Hi everybody. I'm trying to try something a little different by saying hi community because I feel like that might be just I don't know, like a nice thing. I feel like we need that these days, community and fostering that. But I don't know, should I say hi community or say hi everybody? Hi everybody sounds more normal, but hi community makes it sound a little more unique. So, I don't know. Anyway, here we are. This is the last day of the month of January, aka also my sister's birthday. Shout out to you, Tess. And as you may know, there's this makeshift like Lego thing that just broke. It's fine. As you may know, video month. So here we are for the month of January. I really was trying to find something that would just be interesting, and maybe that's why I put it off for so long, because I'm like, what am I gonna do? Something that I've been thinking about recently is more sort of like social worky and psychology concepts or words of tips, tricks, and wisdom. I'm trying to put this leaf back on. There we go. And so I got my degree in social work. As you guys may know, I think I talked about it on my last video with my closet tour. If you haven't, check that out, please. And so from my studies and just my experiences with working with people, I just really, I feel like I'm starting to pick up on this theme of power and control. You guys know the Marina and the Diamonds song? I know she doesn't go by Marina and the Diamonds anymore, but you know what I mean. Marina song. Power and control. Hey, you ho. Is that how it goes? Anyway, that I think is actually a very important concept basically in everyone's life, whether we know it or not. And I want to talk about it. So basically, by the way, before this video might be all over the place. There's a couple concepts I want to talk about, but we'll see how much time we have. I'm going to a heated rivalry rave tonight, and so we'll see how that goes. I had to go to Target today. I was in Target for like an hour or so. Oh my gosh, I don't like being in like stores for that long because it just feels like it can be draining. But I wasn't finding like the right thing, and then I went to the current section. I found some things. So stay tuned for the Instagram post. I feel bad. All my Instagram posts now are just me like partying. It's like, guys, there's more depth to me than that. I just also like to party. You can have both. There's duality. Okay, be a good person, be informed, but also like have a good time. That's also the other thing too. How do we, in this day and age, in this world, what do we do? How can we do anything? That's I feel like a whole other thing. But stay tuned because I want to be doing stuff in a positive communal vein. And if you have any tips, tricks, let me know as well. Because I think that's all a part of the answer to come together and to deal with this that's taking place. And just to make it's kind of crazy that by now we're still at this point. It's like, seriously, we're not just like, everybody gets food, water, housing, clothes, like all the basics. You think we would have mastered that by now? And like people are, it's like more the merrier. Hey, we love you. You love. It's like more of like a loving thing versus we still got a lot of like hating things going on. So, anywho, you can definitely tie that back to power and control for sure, even on a macro and a micro level. But basically, what I've noticed, and even within myself, but also with other people, if someone feels like their power or their control is threatened, they may internally or externally freak out, basically, is kind of what, unless it's like, they maybe under certain circumstances, but even under those circumstances where maybe you've lost control, you're still in control of you losing control. I don't know if that makes sense, but it kind of can make sense to me. So it's like you set the bumpers, you set the boundaries, and then within that you can be like, okay, I'm gonna like let go and chill. But Yeah, so I think it is really good to sort of remind yourself the ways that you are in power and the ways that you are in control. Now, not in a negative, like power trip way where you're just trying to like step on everybody else's heads and get ahead and you're like screw everybody else. Like there's a way I feel like that it becomes maybe unhealthy. Maybe it's an over exaggeration or an overcompensation. But I also think that then there's the other way. And I think that I identify more with the other way of just feeling so not in control of yourself or your life. And then making yourself like smaller as a result of it versus making yourself bigger and like more, what is that called? When you make yourself, what is that called in the animal kingdom world where like you'll make yourself bigger but you're not actually, is it peacocking? I don't know. I look to my mirror here as like a second camera. um but yeah, I think that I guess I'll just relate it back to my experience because hey, that's all, I can do right now. But I wasn't necessarily feeling in control of my life because there's just all these external factors that was sort of like, making me feel like my life was on hold. And there wasn't really much I felt like I could do like outside of it. Like work and school took up most of my time. And I was like, who am I even as a real person? What do I even want to do? That was an aspect. I do have anxiety. And that I don't know if that stems from wanting to be in control. Well, it definitely does stem from wanting to be in control. And then there's these things where it's like you're out of control. But I think it's just good to, instead of making yourself smaller, to sort of know how you can reclaim your power and reclaim your control. Look, you cannot control what people are going to think of you. You can control your acts. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you can control your acts, but no one else. And you cannot control the reactions of those other people. And that can be tough to really reconcile because I think at the core, a lot of us, most of us, probably all of us, but I'm going to say most of us, want to be loved, want to know that we are loved and want to be just appreciated and just supported. And so I think it can be scary in a way. So it's like out of control if you're going out on a limb, let's say, and you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But now, I guess it's just something that I'm really still trying to hammer home of reminding myself of the ways, hey, you may be more in power, more in control than you think. Instead of being like, well, all these external things are controlling my life right now. And there is a lot of validity to that in a lot of people's lives. I don't want to deny that. So that's the kind of thing that I'm grappling with. How do we balance that? How do we balance the fact that there are a lot of external factors bigger than yourself that are kind of controlling and impacting your life right now? But then how do you, even in little ways, keep yourself powerful and in control of your own life? That can be tough. With my hair, that was within my control. I'm like, screw everybody else, I'm cutting my hair. That's just a little example. But I even think it's important just to remind yourself of the ways that you have free will. I think there's a lot of things, like even in my mind, that would maybe just be an illusion of this is what it is and this is how it has to be. And it's like, but really, does it have to? I mean, with school, for example, I don't regret going to school. Obviously, school is very important and very, very good. But there were times where you feel like stuck on that path and you can't like get out of it. You're just like in it. And I guess hypothetically, people do all the time, you can delay going to school. You can go at a certain point when you want. You can dip in, dip out, then dip back in. The life does carry on and things move on. I think that it can just feel like you're very stuck on one path, and that can be very frustrating. I also think, so social anxiety, it could just be tough to like go out sometimes. And it's like, I still am in control of whether or not I am like going to go to the gym, or I'm going to like go out to this place, or I'm going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, and I guess that's the whole cliche of like, do it scared. But it's like, I guess it's kind of true, because I guess I've just kind of relegated myself. Like, I don't want my fear in any way to get in the way of at this point, at a certain point, I'm like, what's more worth it? The cost benefit analysis, being scared and then not doing anything and being inside and, versus doing the thing that you may want to do, but experiencing those uncomfortable feelings that come with it. And in a way, by doing these things that you actually want to do, like filling your life with things that you actually want to do, you're demonstrating how you are in control. So yeah, I think that's just something that I'm learning. I think it's important to sort of just air out and talk about, just reminding yourself the ways that you are in power and you are in control. And I think that that would make people feel a lot better about themselves, and maybe better about their lives, or wanting them to change their lives. Like you may feel that that something is one way, but in a lot of ways, perhaps something is an illusion, or maybe it's not as strong as you thought it was, and you have more control and power than you thought. Again, this isn't to be be overly controlling and be like controlling of other people. It's not that. It's more you controlling you, and then you setting your own boundaries. I I think that when it comes to like relating with other people, obviously community is something very important, and I think we all need that. And I think it's good to remind yourself though that you are allowed to set your own boundaries. You can be fair and polite, but also have standards and boundaries and be direct and assertive. And I think that's also a very fine balance as well, trying to come into. So I guess there's not much to divulge here, unless, I guess I was talking to another person. But I think that I would just encourage everyone to explore, their own concept of power and control, and see how they can make themselves feel a bit more powerful, in a world where a lot of us tend to feel very powerless. And I think that would just make people feel a lot better. I don't know, just in general. I think also when it comes to, yeah, our relationships with other people, someone does something and you feel so out of control over the other person. I'm also thinking about like a lot of perfect examples is just like the parent and child relationships of feeling like out of control with, how your child is acting. How do I, blah, 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 and what I've been learning as well is a lot of these internal struggles or external struggles come back to your nervous system. Obviously, we talk about anxiety. And when you are not in a calm state, when your body is in an anxious state, a sympathetic state, your nervous system is in the sympathetic state, not the parasympathetic. It is hard for you to see reason and to feel loved and supported. And that leads to a bunch of, it's like, why is this person acting this way? And this person may be acting this way because their brain is in like the primitive, like fight or flight part right now, which isn't any fault on them. It's just kind of like giving context and explaining the, situation. And I think that you can apply that to a macro lens where a lot of people have this like existential anxiety, I don't know, about certain groups taking over the world and being replaced, and wokeism and liberalism, there's a lot of, and socialism, and a lot of people, it's a fear response. So I try to empathize in a way where it's like you're obviously scared about something, and you are you feel downtrodden in some type of way. And I think that in a lot of ways, the people are valid for thinking that the system is broken, because it is, but some people just turn it and they go the other way, and they just actually become part of that arm of the establishment that is perpetuating this, aka the billionaires. So yeah, but I think that's actually a really interesting part of human psychology, is looking at these like big collective feelings of anxiety, and people, going one way or going the other way. Maybe one that's more like hateful. And I mean, honestly, you can find hate anywhere, but I think one that is more just kind of stuck in resisting a sort of evolution of like, hey, let's make a world that's better for everyone. And instead it's just this fear response of like, no, because of the scarcity basically that we're experiencing, I have to just protect and look out for me and mine, and basically screw everybody else, which I personally do not think is the answer, obviously. But I can just understand, I guess, in a way that people feel like it's their fight or flight system that's going on. So it's like, okay, how do we, I mean, and not to say that there isn't real hate there totally is, but I'm saying that I feel like behind a lot of hate is that like this fear. And it's like, okay, how do we address this fear? And that fear is a lack of control. Okay, how do we address this lack of control? How do we empower you? And how do we make you feel more just better and more just loving and in community with everybody else? Yeah, I guess it's just really interesting how someone's feeling of powerlessness can go either way. Like right or left, I guess you could say. So I guess the point is there, it's not necessarily acting at a point of rationality. It's acting at a point of like, I need to be safe. I need to, it's a high energy, kind of not stable energy of this. And it's not acting from a place of like centeredness, right? And that again, micro macro lens, that could be for the individual and also for this, more macro concept. But obviously the micro, all these little people, we inform the macro. We make up that. Have you seen that thing with Bug's Life? And like all the ants, and if the ants knew that they could rise up because they're more than there's way more of them than there is of us, we would be screwed basically. And it's like, well, yeah, but the ants just have to wake up. The ants just have to wake up and realize, like, if we all band together, the ants are stronger than what were they? The grasshoppers? Whatever. So take that metaphor, how you want to take that metaphor. The goal here, I think the both the micro and macro collective goal, like the individual and collective goal, on a path to, I hate to say it sounds like cringy or cliche of like basically, but the path to healing really, is recognizing how can we feel safe, loved, and supported, both internally and externally. And that requires a give and take of you being able to provide that to somebody else and someone else being able to provide that to you, and also you being able to receive it and vice versa. When you feel like you are safe, supported, and in more of a calm state, your nervous system will be able to relax, and you will be able to start acting more from your prefrontal cortex. You'll be able to have better reasoning, and you'll be able to be reasoned with and have these conversations, instead of acting from a more from an unstable place. That's kind of like the gist of it. Not all these things I think have to be super complicated. I think that's kind of, to me, human nature in a nutshell. And I think it's important knowledge because you can look at it for yourself and be like, okay, am I acting basically from my limbic primitive brain right now? Am I kind of like here right now, or am I here right now? And we also have the tools to know how to get there, how to basically go from like the middle to the front, from stressed to calm. And I do believe in the importance of a lot of somatic techniques, like breathing. If your exhale is longer than your inhale, your body is like, okay, that means I am safe. I've ran away, or I fought the tiger, and I'm good. And also like, touch either to yourself or from others, like hugs and things like that, are good. Okay, I'm here because I'm editing now, but something that I forgot to mention was even if you're not receiving that from other people, even though it's very important to feel loved and to be loved and to give love to others and from others, in the absence of that, but even if not in the absence of that, you can try to cultivate creating that more loving environment in your own mind space. And, have you heard of, rewiring your brain and things like that? It's definitely a long process, but it is possible to change the way you think and to create a more loving landscape in your brain. And that hopefully, through self-compassion and through trying to think more positive thoughts, even if you think it's delusional, like some of the positive thoughts and you think it's delusional. Honestly, I think sometimes, as long as it's not hurting you or anybody else, like if you're being nice and positive to yourself and you have dreams and you have these goals and ambitions, just creating a very happy and loving garden in your mind as a sort of baseline will only naturally help you have a calmer baseline, and when you're dealing with when day to day or other stressors even, throughout your life. And then also having that be in sort of combination with, and have that complemented, in have that complemented by having maybe more positive relationships with others, but I'm saying it's not necessarily one or the other. It's both that internal mind space and also like external, your relationships with other people. And sometimes people aren't around, and sometimes you are in a phase, in a season of loneliness, and so that can also be time to start creating a really positive mind space. But it's tough because especially if you are lonely and you feel down and sad, that's not so easy. So it's more just, I'm just trying to recognize the relationship between both your internal and your external here, and your ability to sort of give and receive in both arenas. I think, though, that in the world that we live in, that things are not as, at least maybe in America, things are not as communal, things are not as village oriented. So we feel very disconnected from one another. And therefore we don't feel loved. And we feel like maybe everybody's out to get you. But it creates more divisiveness, and as opposed to togetherness, bitterness and hatred versus, community and love and togetherness. So I want to talk about relationships and detachment. And it's like, how can you really exploring that more? I guess I'm still exploring that of, I do think that detachment is likely the answer to a lot of things, because again, detached from the outcome. It's you're relinquishing control over things you can't control, but you're maintaining control of things that you can control. But it's like, if community is so important, how can we be detached? And I do think that there is an answer. There's like a balance. It's like a half in, half out. It's not black and white. It's more of a gray. But maybe that's for another day. Okay, well, this is a shorter video, which is fine. I actually already did post this month. But I didn't put it on my Instagram, so I was like, I don't know. It's just different. But I think it's important to talk about these things and to divulge our mental processes. So I want to be creating more things, not just like these philosophical videos, which they are good, or I do like doing them, but I do kind of want to branch out a bit. So we'll stay tuned, and yeah, peace out. What was my typical outro? Did I just say bye? Okay, bye.